Hello, my name is Kai, and I am a bit of a rambler. I like to travel, learn, and tell stories. And it's time to ramble on. What's been going on? I found out there are jaguars in Panama, so that's fun. I'm gonna go to the national forest soon. I know I was going to weeks ago, but there's really good sushi, and I got some books to narrate, and I discovered this place with 50-cent chicken wings. Oh, plus my phone, the corner of it, there was a huge, loud crack when I was sitting here, actually, at the computer. And I didn't see anything in the room. And then after I finished working, I looked at my phone and noticed this small purple dot. And purple's my favorite color, so I was fine with that. It was just mildly purpling the corner of my phone. And I have a Pixel 6, or had anyway, and I didn't like that phone the day I got it, and I just liked it less and less with every day that passed. So, whatever, I was fine with it finally breaking, forcing me to get a new one. I don't know why I've been so lazy about getting a new one this whole time. Actually, probably because I didn't know where to start. Anyway, that purple blotch in the bottom right corner of the phone just bloomed. Each day it got a little more and a little more, and it started like invading. It made like a grid pattern and just went out. It was pretty cool, actually, because like I said, purple's my favorite color, so it was nice to have my broken phone displaying something I liked. Well, I guess I'll just talk about the phone now, since I already brought it up. When it was breaking in the beginning, I was like, that's fine. And then it kept getting bigger and bigger, and the screen was dying. And before it died and I lost all the passwords and what's that authenticator keys, I figured I should just get a new phone now before the old phone completely actually dies. Even though I don't use it that much, so the color thing in the dead screen, it wasn't a big problem. But, I mean, for one, I don't like that Pixel 6. I've hated it for like a year and a half. I had to get two because the first one, the hardware was like crappy. Like the hardware was broken itself. They gave me a second one, and the insides of the Pixel shake around. Like they're not fixed. There's a screw missing or something. But I was like, whatever. I'll use it until it breaks, and then I'll just get a new phone. And then I kept working for like 3 years or 2 years or something to spite me. And it got super hot. The software updates and features almost invariably made the phone worse. The camera is absurd. It looks nothing like real life. Like the lighting is terrible. Even when I take a raw photo, it does an AI picture to it because I took 2 screenshots. When I click the button and it takes the picture, takes a screenshot, and then like a quarter of a second later, all of the filters and colors are adjusted, even in a raw photo file. So that camera is really irritating. There's like 50 things I could go. I literally wrote out a rant with all like 20 huge problems with that phone. And I was happy to finally see that purple, to see the screen dying. I found a place and they were like, yeah, we can fix it for $80 or whatever. And I was just, man, if I fix it, then I'm going to still have it. And I was like, no, just get a new one. Because all the phones here in Panama are really cheap. I mean, the prices in the local shops where they sell new phones are they're cheaper than the prices online. And those are the tag prices on the window, so you can always bargain down a little. But I don't have the inclination to bargain over $10 for a phone or whatever. But anyway, I noticed all of the phones are very politely priced here in Panama, and I'm not sure why, but I kind of felt that I might be getting a new phone while I was I felt it would be stupid for me not to get a new phone while I was down here, since I hate my Pixel so much. Or rather, I'm so disappointed with the uselessness of the phone. I can't believe how much I paid for a new phone that is worse than my old 10-year-old phone. With no expandable storage? Are you joking me? And 128 gigabytes? Google, what are you even talking about? Also, its Bluetooth connection turns out was a trick on the user, I think, to make you use the Google accessories, because I have a new phone now, and using my Bluetooth headphones with the new phone, my Bluetooth headphones sound crystal clear. They're like amazing, and they have been crap for the past year, which I was surprised. I mean, they've been okay enough to listen with, but I thought the quality of the Bluetooth headphones was terrible. Turns out Google Pixel was just, I don't know, terrible at casting sound to Bluetooth headphones, because these are the third pair I've got, and I just thought people in the States stopped making any kind of a decent Bluetooth headphone. Turns out it was my crappy phone. But I didn't know anything about phones, and I haven't really heavily researched them in a very long time. So I figured I'm in cheap new phone land, and it's a very modern city, so I figured if I'm gonna get one, I should learn about phones so I can choose the right one, because when I got my first phone, it was the HTC One, the one with front-facing speakers. How do phone companies not do that anymore? Seems like a terrible decision to not have your speakers facing the person using the phone. Why does only Sony do it, and why does it cost $1,000 for speakers that face the human? Guess there's going to be a lot of phone talk here, but that's what this is about, rambling. So, I have noticed many phone shops around, and some of the advertised prices I see, because these are all new phones, like $80, $90 for 128 gigabytes or 256 gigabytes of ROM, 8 gigs of RAM. And I was just those numbers. I was like, well, that's a pretty good, that's as much as it would cost for them to replace the screen on my Pixel that I don't like for so many reasons. There's got to be a better phone. Close to that price range is the first thing I thought, but then I was like, I don't care. Like, whatever I pay, it'll be less than the stupid Pixel cost me. So I started compiling a list of all of the phones I saw. I just walked into every shop, and every model that they had with a stickered price on it, I took a picture with my phone of their counter of phones, basically. It's like 15 in a picture, and I just did that for one day. I just walked around for, I don't know, 2 hours or something. All the phone shops in my neighborhood, there's like, I don't know, 6, 7. And I took pictures of all the phones that they had, and then I went home, and I opened up a calc spreadsheet, actually, and I put down all the models, and then I went onto GSM Arena, and I put in the data in my spreadsheet of ROM, RAM, eSIM, expandable storage, battery size, charging rate, pixels per inch, and a couple other things. The things that were really important to me. I needed expandable storage because not having storage, because of that Pixel weird thing they do, even with their new phones, it's just crazy. Like, you can't, like, a video file, a minute of that is 100 megabytes, and I have 128 gigabytes or 256. My old Taiwanese phone, the Oppo, had 512 installed when I got it 10 years ago, and you could put in 2 gigabytes of expandable storage on an SDXC card. And Google's telling me I can only have 128. I can only have 5% of that storage 10 years later. I didn't understand it. I got the phone because everyone talks about flagship phones and how they're so much better than whatever the heck. So it's like, fine, I'll try it. I'll try a flagship phone. And then it was the worst phone I've ever had. By far. Like, nothing compares. And the HTC 10 was a disappointment. 7 was amazing. 8, pretty good, not as good as 7. 10, fine. It was fine, not great. So I decided to go outside of HTC after that. I think that's when I got the Pixel. And that made the HTC 10 look like the 7. So now I have this fancy spreadsheet with maybe 60 different models of phone in them. And I just, every day for like 2 nights, maybe 3 nights, because it's tedious work, and I was busy reading comics or feeding the raccoons down at the coast. But I would put in the information, and eventually I had a full sheet. And I organized it by price after that. And I went down, and there was one phone that had everything I wanted except for charge rate. The charge rate of the Motorola G54 5G is rated at 15 watts, which is crazy because, any standard anything is 30 watts now. But the Pixel 6 charges slow as shit also. It's garbage. So I was like, this has way more than my Pixel 6 had when it was new, and it only costs $150. That's like 20% of what I paid for the Pixel 6 when it came out. And this thing comes with charger, phone case, screen protector, 1-year guarantee, or a 1-year warranty. It just has everything for $150. And I can walk down the street, buy it, and go back. So after I went through the whole list, and I even, when there was something I didn't want, like if a phone didn't have expandable storage or did not support eSIM functionality, I would write no, and then I would highlight that cell in the spreadsheet with a little red thing. And the more red a phone model had, the worse it was. And most of the ones under $100, like half of the fields were red. Too little ROM, too little RAM, no eSIM, whatever. Except for the Motorola. But even up to the $500 phone, some of them didn't have expandable storage or eSIM functionality, or some of their charging was very slow. And looking at the phone game now, I can see what has happened. I can't believe how many phones are being released every year. There's a different one every single month at least. A decade ago, there was one every few months maybe. I mean, like announced and flagship and all that. But with the proliferation, it seems like there's just a sea of crap. So I'm really glad I did this spreadsheet, because when I did that and then organized by price, it became super clear which phones were readily accessible in my neighborhood, ready to purchase, and had everything I wanted. And there's only one shop that was selling Motorola phones. And I guess they're not cool, is why people don't like them, because they don't waste a lot of money on advertisements. I'm not really sure. I know there's some, what do you call it, stigma against owning a Motorola because it's not an iPhone or a Samsung. But Motorola has everything the newest Samsungs don't, with expandable storage and all that. So, and the one that happened to have everything I wanted, except for that charging rate, which 15 watts just seemed impossible. I didn't see how a modern phone could charge that slowly. But since it had everything I wanted, I thought about it for the night, and I was like, I'll go down and look at it, and these stats look good. But then I just woke up. I was gonna wait and go down to the shop later in the afternoon, but I was just sitting there thinking well, they're only selling one in that shop, and when they sell it, they're not gonna have it. And you're going to get a new phone. That's the one you want to get. And I just rolled out of bed, went down there, talked to the guy. He was like, yep, that's the price. We'll take $5 off the sticker. There's no taxes, even with the credit card. And because they like cash more here in Panama. And you'll get a charger, cable, phone case. What's it called? The screen protector. And the 1-year warranty on the hardware. I was like, yeah. So I got it. And when he plugged it in, it took 10 seconds, 20 seconds to even start charging. And I was like, uh-oh. But it did charge up to 20, turned it on, looked fine to me. It looked a little clunky, a little slow, the software. But I was like, oh, whatever, I'll take it home, turn off animations, check out all the basic stuff to make a phone go faster. And this phone came with 256 gigabytes of ROM, so I had way more I had twice the memory I did on my old phone. Well, on this frickin' Pixel I've had for a couple of years anyway. And then it had 8 gigabytes of full RAM inside the phone, and then 8 gigabytes of virtual RAM, which is a thing a lot of phone companies seem to be doing now. They'll double the RAM they have by using part of your ROM as RAM, like virtual RAM, like Windows used to do with Speed Boost or whatever it was called with the USB key. You could throw it in and get extra RAM for your system. So I got my phone back home, and I just spent the afternoon updating it because it came out in 2023, and it's a couple of years later. So I just kept updating, restart, and it kept getting better. I mean, like faster right in front of my eyes, and it was pretty cool. Like it just responded better. And I also realized that it was so slow because it was a dead battery. It had never been charged, or hadn't been charged since it was in the box 2 years ago. And once it hit like 50%, everything, it was like a normal phone then. It just acted normally. I was like, oh, right, the battery was dead for this long. And now it can go down to 20% and still functions normally. It seems like it was just that first time it hadn't been charged in so long that all the circuits were waking up. I don't know how that works, but that's what happened. And it finally updated to the current month. And I opened it up. And I was like, something's weird with the animations. And so I just went to the system, turned on developer options, turned off all the animations, and all of a sudden, the phone was blazing fast. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty nice. Like way, way faster than the Pixel, way faster than any phone I've had. Because it had the same full RAM as the Pixel 6, 8 gigabytes. And then I was like, oh, right. And I went and turned on the virtual RAM. So now it had 16 gigabytes, 8 of full and 8 of virtual. And it was even speedier, and it could clearly handle more programs at once. I don't know if I pushed it to the limit before when I only had 8 because I didn't turn on the virtual RAM, but it definitely seemed more, capable after I added the 8 gigabytes of RAM. So this new phone is now performing all tasks instantly. And it has 256 gigabytes of storage. I transferred all my podcasts, all my apps and everything over to the new phone, and it is doing everything that the Pixel couldn't do. I like the form factor better. It's just a simple rectangle. It has better hardware inside. It's functioning faster and it's functioning better. It's not getting hot. Even when I was downloading 276 different podcast episodes onto the new phone because it was just matching all the data exactly, it still didn't get hot. And it was downloading that stuff straight for like hours. I did art on it. I love using Infinite Painter for my comics and t-shirts and all graphics, really. And that would heat up the Pixel. The Pixel got hot when it connected to Wi-Fi. The Pixel got hot constantly, like pretty hot to hold. And in the first month, I was like, this is okay. But I was living in Denver in winter. So yeah, it's okay in Denver in winter. But it was very hot. As soon as I'd go inside, the phone would get weirdly hot. It would get uncomfortably hot, the Pixel. And this Motorola can do all of that and more at the same time. And it got, like, warm once during the initial, while I was doing everything on it. And since then, the past few days, it hasn't gotten warm again. And I've downloaded stuff on it, and I've done art on it and everything. It's just handling all of these processes with ease. The environment, too, is there's no bloat, basically. Facebook was installed, and there were like 3-4 games installed, and all I did was uninstall the games, and then uninstalled Facebook, and I just dragged it to the top like any other app and hit uninstall. You can't do that on Pixel phones. It won't let you delete the bloatware, and they don't just have Facebook, they have all sorts of shit. You cannot delete the Google search bar from your home screen on a Google Pixel. I am very clean and organized with my phone home screens, and the fact that I had this ugly search bar that I didn't need constantly there was just in the way. Just why not just let me get rid of it? And Pixel didn't, And the Motorola, yep, just get rid of it. You can customize everything out of the box. Like, I don't have to install Graphene OS, which I'm not a huge fan of, which is fine. It's obviously a lot better than the Google OS or Pixel OS or whatever the heck it is. But so far, this Motorola software environment is great. It's everything. I don't need to expand anything. Or there's nothing I feel like I need to root and flash a ROM onto to fix right now. Maybe later, after the honeymoon with this new phone dies down. But right now, it is kicking so much ass. And it's just so comfortable to use. I've made a new comic. I made a t-shirt on it. It's Bluetooth. I listen to podcasts constantly. And all of a sudden, with the same Bluetooth headphones, I feel like I bought a new $200 pair of Bluetooth headphones. The clarity, the increase in clarity on my Bluetooth headphones versus the clarity on the Pixel, the embarrassing quality on the Pixel is factorial. Factorial. I can't explain how much better it sounds. It's basically on the Pixel, if someone was holding their hand in front of their mouth and talking to you at a normal voice volume, that's what my Bluetooth headphones sounded like all the time. It sounded kind of like this. Like, you can still understand what I'm saying, but it's not, it's not very clear. It's a little difficult to understand, and the plosives, the B's sound like the P's a little bit, and it just sounded terrible. And then this is what my Bluetooth headphones sound like now. They sound completely normal, like speakers used to sound when giant software companies didn't screw up competing Bluetooth headphone software so that you would buy their earphones. I didn't think of that, honestly. The 2 years I've had the Pixel, if I knew that the Pixel was dumbing down my accessories, I would have got rid of it sooner. But when I bought a better headphone, the quality would improve marginally. But now I have the Motorola, and it's clear as a bell. I wondered why everybody made such a big deal about this Dolby Atmos. And if that's what's doing it, baby, I'm hooked. Like, it makes everything sounds better. Like, all the speakers sound out loud, too. When I'm playing music, they sound better than the Pixel. And I know they're not the best speakers in the world, but boy, that Pixel, bleh. So if you can't tell, yeah, I'm super happy about this new phone. Really curious what it'll be like in a few months, and I'll probably talk about it again later. But I transferred everything over effortlessly with QuickShare, and the phone, it's done everything so far without a hiccup. And when I got that frickin' Pixel 6, I spent days trying to get it to function just decently, just not embarrassingly. Like, stop heating up so that it burns my hand, or hold 3 programs at once and switch between them without freaking out and shutting down. Pixel 6, that software environment is so cluttered and so bloated. And then I have the Motorola, and there's nearly no bloat. There's a couple, like, helpful safety tips and whatever, but they aren't affecting the performance of the phone at all, which is, so far, skating on ice. I'm amazed at how well this phone functions. Considering it has basically the same specs as the Pixel, maybe marginal improvements in a couple things. It supposedly has slower processing power, but it's running laps around the performance of my Pixel 6. And it cost less than a quarter of the price. So I'm not using a case or a screen protector. I'm pretty careful with my phones anyway. But if this one falls down and breaks in a few months, I'll get another one, and I won't have spent a dime more than I spent on the Pixel 6. Like I said, I'm very safe, so I'm not planning on that happening, and I knocked on wood, so it should be fine. Polylaminate wood. It's still wood. It's not wood. But it is a deal. It has expandable storage. I'm going to put a card on it so I can have local music, which I've really missed having. I thought it would be okay not having my music locally and just using online streaming services, but I don't like it. Like, sometimes you're just not in a signal place, like when I'm traveling, and I like to have the stuff local on my machine. I also like offline Wikipedia, which with 128 gigabytes, you can't exactly download. It's about 100 gigabytes for all of Wikipedia on your phone. And I had that for years, and then I couldn't have it with the Pixel, and now I can again. So I'm putting my music library back on there, because I have this old SD card with it. And my new bands, Tropical Fuckstorm and Mannequin Pussy, those are real bands, and those are very good bands. Deep States rocks. And from Mannequin Pussy, that song Drunk is cool. Mannequin Pussy, I saw them live, and her performance, the whole band's performance was perfect, like amazing, but the reason they're all brought together, the reason the whole band is so powerful is because the lead singer scream rocks your fucking face off while shooting around the stage and killing it. And you know, it's crazy. I was listening to a podcast, and the guy on it said he went to a Mannequin Pussy show, couldn't believe how good it was. If Mannequin Pussy was playing near the person listening to this podcast, you should go see him. So I checked online. Mannequin Pussy was playing next to me next week, because apparently they're from Philadelphia. I was in Philadelphia at the time. I just, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world at that point, I just happened to be in Philadelphia for that week, and they were playing next week, Mannequin Pussy. And I was like, okay, well, you're going then, because you randomly heard this podcast that was made a year, 2 years ago, and they just mentioned you have to go see Mannequin Pussy in the city you're in. And I saw Mannequin Pussy, and it fucking changed my life. It changed my taste in music. It reminded me that there is still something in the US worth visiting, worth living there for, and that's live music performances in the US. They are great. They're great everywhere, but I can't understand the words everywhere of most bands. Even in China, at the apex, the apotheosis of my Mandarin mastery, I could understand like some of the phrases the punk rock Chinese groups would say. Actually, I can't understand Mannequin Pussy either, so that's not a very good argument. But America does have good live music. I'll say Mannequin Pussy was what I was missing. And then I got to see Be Your Own Pet like the next week, and I got fucking rocked all over again. Be Your Own Pet, another band you guys should be listening to. Yeah, Mannequin Pussy, Be Your Own Pet, and then Tropical Fuckstorm. I just stumbled across them on YouTube somehow. I really am not sure. And they're just this really interesting Australian supergroup, which I don't like to use that word, but everyone describes them as that because all the members are from formerly successful Australian bands. I don't know, supergroup sounds corny, right? But I guess they are. They are super, and they're a group, so I should call them a supergroup. Fuck me, I've never been in a band. Who am I to criticize? What are we talking about? If you are listening to this and you're in Philadelphia, go see Mannequin Pussy if they're there. Go see Be Your Own Pet if they are there. And go see Tropical Fuckstorm if they left the Big Island. I mean the Big Island as Australia, not the Big Island in Hawaii. Oh, so like I was saying, there are jaguars here? That's what I started talking about. And I still have yet to visit the National Forest. I'm going very soon, but my sleep schedule has been upside down. So I'm usually not awake during much of the daylight. And I don't want to go to the forest at night, the jaguar forest. And they are around the entire country, apparently, which I was interested to find out. I found out from Francisco. He's the one who told me about jaguars. I was walking around. Oh, I got such good patacones. So patacones are fried slices of plantains, and they're freaking delicious. So instead of like French fries or potato chips, patacones are pretty popular here. They have potato chips and all that stuff, but the patacones are better. And I had the best patacones from this dude in a stall outside a school. There's like a strip mall of fast food places so the kids can buy their lunches or whatever. I think that's what's going on because it's so cheap. And I paid $2 and got this plate of patacones with like what I immediately thought of as cafeteria food, sloppy Joe meat on the top of them. But like way better than, school food. This just tastes like a thick stew. All the sauces here are like these really thick, savory flavors. So even a crappy cafeteria food from your school sloppy Joe meat sauce is like incredibly rich and delicious. And I got a chicha with it, which is like this little local juice. And man, it was like the best $2 I'd spent in this country so far. So I was very happy and just jaunting my way down the street. And I started walking down one, and one guy just like waved his hands over his head, who was casually walking by me beforehand. And then when he saw I was going down the road, he waved. And I was like, "Oh, esto bien cerrado." Like, is this road closed? And he was like, "Oh, sí, es cerrado." And es la compañía. Oh, okay. So, like, he worked there, and it was a private company road. So I just turned around, and we were walking the same direction. And he asked if I was American or spoke English, something like that. And then we talked nonstop for like 20 minutes while we walked through the neighborhood down to the main road. And yeah, just traded stories and all that. And he was a cool guy. His name was Francisco. And I was like, "Where are the crocodiles?" He was like, "I don't know. Don't worry about those. Worry about the two-legged, long-haired crocodiles," which I guess was a joke about people. And I asked him if that was a Panamanian joke. And he just said, "It's a joke." And I was like, is it specifically about me then? But that'd be weird because we were having fun talking. But that's the great thing about traveling. You don't really know what anybody is talking about all the time because their entire brain was brought up in a totally different fishbowl than yours was. So all the cultural norms banging around in there just don't make sense, which I like a lot more than sort of seeing the crude vulgarity that is someone being uncharitable or mean-spirited. In the States, it's easy to tell if someone's talking down about someone else or having fun at someone else's expense. And in other countries, until I get good at the language, it's sort of up in the air. So I'm more comfortable talking to people. So Francisco was super cool. He told me a bunch of interesting stuff. The only one I wrote down was jaguars, though. I was walking to the national park that day. That's why I was out early enough to stop by that food stall next to the school. They're not there in the afternoons. But the way that I'm coming from, it's only a 20-minute walk or like 30 minutes, but there's only the highway going to it. So it was just uncomfortable walking along the highway there. So I just turned back. I'm going to approach from the other side, which I should just be able to get to with a couple buses. And then I'll march my way into the forest. I'm still really excited to go, but I am still really excited to do all this, play on my phone and read comics. And what did I just read? I just read, not Black Cloaks, the other one by Meredith. Meat Eaters. Really good as a complete story too. It needed a little more for me, but I think that's because I'm a guy, so I wasn't clocking exactly. Anyway, there's a great graphic novel called Meat Eaters, and it's written and arted by the same person, which I really like when the author draws their own novel. Don't worry, I won't talk about everything I read or watch, but just stuff that's sticking out in my mind. Because otherwise, this would never end, and I don't want to burden you with watch and read lists like I burden myself with. So I'm going to that national park. Have I already mentioned the bottle bidet again? Because I'm going to talk about it again for 5 minutes. A minute. The bottle bidet, I did, I already talked about it last week. It's just so great. Everybody else here, like a lot of countries, use paper and then throw the paper in the trash can next to the toilet, which is gross. Like, why do you want it there next to you? It's just a ruse. Like, I throw the toilet paper in the trash, or in the toilet, in every single country I've been to that has the sign that says don't do it. I think they're afraid of Americans using too much toilet paper. I use what I thought was a reasonable amount before I started using the bidet, and it always flushed. But now, it's all about the bottle bidet. I don't touch that stuff, I don't go near it. I spray down the seat if I'm in a hostel because people are gross and men pee on the toilet seat. So I just spray it with the bidet, and then I got a clean toilet seat. And if they think I peed all over it, whatever, because you know what? It was gross and dirty, and now it's clean. Oh, a new guy moved in here. Actually, this place was all girls last month, and it's all guys and one girl left this month. And one of the guys that moved in is this Italian guy who's going to start up a restaurant. He's right next to me. And there's another guy from down the hall, and he talks on his phone in the bathroom, which it's not a big bathroom, so I don't know why you'd want to be in it with the toilet paper basket I mentioned. But he seems comfortable in there and has conversations, so his bathroom times are like an hour long sometimes in the morning. At least they were the first week. I think he thought he was the only crazy ghoul that stays up all night. But my day and night times are flipped as well, so he doesn't spend an hour in there anymore. So I'm really doing all these public services. Okay, speaking of shows that I never watched that were huge cultural phenomenons while I was growing up, I finally watched the first episode and then season of Sex and the City, which, between the casting, writing, and cinematography, I was kind of blown away by. I can see why it caught on so quickly and rapidly, especially in the States, which is all about glamour and rutting. But I didn't know that Sex and the City started as a actual real newspaper column in real life. I only found that out because I was watching the pilot and I was like, why is this so good? Why is the writing so good? Why does this feel so grounded? And then I found out that it was actually a newspaper column. And then a book. And then the show came along. So they had a lot of good material, real material to work from to create the TV show. Oh, and an element of it is the fourth wall breaking that Sarah Jessica Parker does. Sometimes she'll talk directly to the camera about her thoughts going on. And that's also an element that American audiences have been eating up for 20 years now. But I don't remember a lot of shows at the time, 20 years ago, doing that, breaking the fourth wall and talking directly to the viewer. So, good show. The first 2 seasons were pretty good. The third one, it seems a lot slower to me. It seems like, I don't know, they seem more meandery. But, I don't know, I'm impressed. I would definitely recommend watching the first season to see if you're interested at all. Oh, I started listening to a new podcast called The Night Vale, or Night Vale. And it's a fictional, like, surrealist life podcast set in the town of Night Vale. And they just, at least for the first episode, read funny headlines or goings-on about the town that are, surrealist, don't make a lot of perfect sense, but are very well put together and are funny and eerie, which I like a lot. Well, the funniest thing they did was the NRA gave out free bumper stickers saying, "Guns don't kill people. It's impossible to be killed by a gun. We are all invincible to bullets, and it's a miracle," which is super funny and had me laughing out loud while I was cooking in the kitchen. And it's like an hour long each episode, or 45 minutes, and they just throw out zinger after zinger like that for the whole first episode anyway. I'll listen to more. It was really fun, and it's very chill, which is kind of nice too. I like to listen to podcasts while I walk around, so having a well-metered bit of performance as I stroll is right up my alley. Oh, and the second season of Sex and the City, they get in a whole thing about circumcision, and they highly recommend men get circumcised, or that's the position, ostensibly, of the show. But just for all the Americans who think that's a normal thing, it's only about 1 in every 3 men that are circumcised around the globe. That's a very American and religious thing to do. There's very little actual scientific evidence showing it's good, and I've always thought of it as a kind of, obviously not as bad as what happens in real female genital mutilation, which is a problem in a lot of countries, but circumcision is certainly a limited genital mutilation. You're cutting off a little part of a boy's genitals. Always seemed weird to me. Still does. And to see it fought for so hard in this TV show was just very 90s to me, very monoculture. That's what's really interesting about Sex and the City. Everything they say is so, well, we're all connected. We all agree on everything. This is what racism is. This is what circumcision is. This is what, and this is a national show. And they're just saying these things that weren't correct or agreed upon. But the culture, the monoculture of the US was so strong before the advent of information technology that you could show something like that on TV and it wouldn't be viewed as idiotic or shallow or insulting. Which I think if it was shown today, there would be a few scenes in that show where you'd be like, oop, nope. But that's true of all shows from 20, 30 years ago. What do you think about male circumcision? Is it limited genital mutilation, or is it body modding? Body modification. Means the same thing, but body modification at least sounds positive-ish. Oh, I wrote down that I should title this Ramble On episode Meanwhile, because every scene in Sex and the City starts with, Meanwhile, Miranda, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not going to do that. Oh, I finally found out what pH means. All the apartment buildings and hotels here, so many of them are PH Maria or PH Coastal. It's always PH in the beginning, and I don't know what that was. And I've been curious. I figured I'd osmotically figure it out. But I didn't, so I finally looked it up. PH, is propiedad horizontal. Wait, did I talk about this? Sorry if I already talked about this, but it's really interesting because I think it's a really good way to set up an apartment building. Oh, you know what I think I did? Whatever. Really quick, they have central air. So instead of each person paying for AC or heating, you can just have everyone pay and the air goes into everyone's apartment. So your housing is way cheaper and you can use AC and hot water in the shower all year long without paying much money at all. Great housing situation. Oh, geez. I was wondering why I haven't done a podcast in a while. I just remembered that the last one I did, I had to re-record the entire hour-long podcast because I deleted the first one I recorded for an hour like a fucking idiot. Anyway, knock on wood, I don't do that again. There, that's an actual wood door. Let's see, I finished Subnautica. That was cool. Is that what they mean by a survival game? I don't like the food and drink thing because I've backpacked for a long time and I don't think the food and water gauges I've seen in a lot of these survival games are very realistic. But then I have backpacked and I guess I wasn't really surviving. So maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I very much enjoyed Subnautica and I turned off the food and drink gauges so that I could focus on the game rather than drinking water every couple of minutes. Oh, so there's this restaurant that I like to get chicken wings from, and it has half off Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sundays. And I walked around for 2 hours, building up the courage to speak Spanish when I walked into the restaurant. And I was finally outside, and I was like, okay, you can do this. You know these words. You're fine. I haven't been speaking much Spanish here because, I don't know, a lot of people speak English, and I had to relearn all of my Spanish. But I've been trying a lot more. And so I finally walked up to the restaurant. I was like, okay, go in there. And then before I was ready, the waitress just came out and asked what I wanted outside of the restaurant. And I was like, hoy hay las alitas para 10 para $5. Do you have the wings today for 10 for 5? And she was like, yes, we have them Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday. And she explained this whole thing to me. And I ordered, and it was really easy, and it felt really good because I was so worried about speaking Spanish, even though I've been finally studying it again. But it worked out great, and I got my wings, and I'm going to get them today as well. Did you know that Venice is held up by trees? What? Kai, what are you talking about? That sounds stupid and made up. You're a dummy. Now, I am a dummy, but that's also true. 1600 years ago, like some Spaniards were like, you know what? There's this like giant bay. There's a huge like swampy lagoon area. And then there's perfectly good land and a forest. And one guy was like, we should make houses on the land. And everyone else was like, no, we should take all the trees from this place, cut off their branches, and smack them into the mud, and then cut off the tree butts so they're all flat, and then build on those. And this one guy was like, that seems like way more work. And everyone was like, no, it's a great idea. And that's what Venice is. All of Venice is built on stilts, I mean, technically, but they're bunches of trees. Like, I think it's 10 million trees in total. Maybe it's more, but I think it's about 10 million trees under Venice are keeping Venice afloat. And all those trees are mostly alder, a lot of oak until they realized that oak was really valuable, so they used alder exclusively after a certain point. 1600 years ago to 500 years ago. And a lot of these logs are still intact and not even mildly petrified, or not extensively petrified. A lot of them are still wood. How crazy is that? There's a team that did research on it a decade ago. Anyway, that's a good note to end on. So thanks for letting me ramble on, and I'll talk to you soon. Oh, you know what? Just to close out with the phone also, found out that apparently Motorola is really popular in Colombia, and the reason the shop that I had, the only shop in the city I've seen so far with Motorola phones, the only reason he had them is because he's originally from Colombia. So I kind of lucked out there. Thanks, guy. Don't think I ever got his name. And he was obviously trying to sell me on this phone. Like, he uses Samsung, and he just had the same, like, this is a piece of shit brick. I'm gonna foist it off on this dumb tourist. And like I said, it's like the best phone I've had in a decade. It's so great so far. And this is the mid-range cheap phone, basically. So I'm pretty curious about their newest ones. I'll probably just wait a few years and then get whatever the next iteration of this is. I need nothing more than this for my current needs. This is all the data I could use. It can run circles around all the app necessary functions, all the apps demanding things. No problem for this phone so far. And I am a power user, I'd say, except for gaming. I think maybe that's it. Like, with the advent of phone gaming, they have to make sure phones can handle some pretty demanding processes, and I don't do that. So all the art stuff I'm doing and downloading and uploading and all that kind of stuff that used to be demanding for phones are not, because the only problem now is like the newest graphics and the shitty code they write for games so that the graphics have to keep up or overcompensate. Anyway, this phone's great. I hope you have a great day too. I'm gonna have a great day with 20 chicken wings. 20 chicken wings. You can talk to me at bitofarambler@gmail.com or on Lemmy at bitofarambler or on all the social medias. Although I might not answer them. I'll definitely answer the email and Lemmy. Thank you for listening and have a great rest of your day.